Happy Tuesday, 7th graders. There are only 5 more classes left. So we are going to get into our angles with algebra. So we're going to put together our angles and we're going to put together our solving equations skills together to help us solve for missing angles. So before last week we were working on finding a missing angle when you were given one part of the missing angle. So this week, what we're going to work on is, if you take a peek here, we're going to still be using our words of complementary and supplementary. We're also going to see vertical, okay? But this time, if you take a peek, we don't really know either angle, okay? So we're given an expression for each piece to the angle. So it looks a little bit more complicated than it really is. There's a couple key pieces here that we need. So let's start on number 1. Angles A and B are complementary. Our vocabulary here is very important. So complementary means, reminder, this is 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees. And in this question, they want us to find the value of x, okay? So we can see here, by them telling us that this is complementary, I know that these are 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees and create a right angle. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 expressions and you are just going to add them up and set them equal to 90 degrees. So if you take a peek here, we're just going to add 5x plus 7 plus my 3x minus 5. Those 2 angles add up to equal 90 degrees. So if you think about this, if you think back to our solving equations unit, okay, what is our first step here? We got a kind of a lot going on here. So our first step, we should be looking to see if we can combine any like terms. Do you see any like terms here? The 2 like terms I see immediately are 5x plus 3x. Remember to include that sign. So 5x plus 3x's is 8x's. And I'm going to combine my constant, my plain numbers, positive 7 and a negative 5, make sure you include those numbers, or those signs, is positive 2, equals 90 degrees. And now you have a simple 2-step equation that we've been pretty efficient at solving throughout the school year. So our first step to undoing or getting our x value alone is we're going to do the inverse of positive 2 by subtracting 2. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you need to do to the other side of the equal sign to keep your equation balanced. So positive 2 and negative 2 cancel and give you 0. We're going to drop down our 8x equals, and now on the right side, solve 90 minus 2 is 88. In our last inverse step, the opposite of multiplying x by 8 is to divide by 8 on both sides of my equal sign. 8 divided by 8 is 1x, and that's what our goal is. We're being asked to find the value of an x. That's 1x there. So 88 divided by 8 is 11. So my value of x is 11, and that's all the question asked me to do. If they asked you to find the value of, say, angle A, we would use our value of 11 for x and plug that in right there to solve. So 5 times 11 would be 55. 55 plus 7 would give you a 62-degree angle. So if they asked you to find that, you could plug your value of x that you solve for in to your expression and solve to find that part. Same thing with angle B. 3 times the 11 is 33. 33 minus 5 would be 28. So you could always double check and add those 2 up and make sure they added to 90 if you were unsure of yourself. But today, right now, for this one, they're just asking you to find the value of x. So we've done the job there. Now on number 2, this one states angle R and S are supplementary. So that's a key piece here because supplementary, we learned in the last 2 weeks, is two angles, that's just the angle symbol, that add up to 180 degrees. Remember that 180 degrees forms a straight line. Two angles that add up to create a straight line of 180 degrees. That is supplementary. In this question, it's asking us to find the measure of angle R. So first, before we find what R is, we need to know, in order to find angle R, we need to know what X is. So we need to solve for X. So we know, we can set this up, that these are supplementary. So these are two angles. So I'm going to add these two angles and set them equal the angle R plus the expression for angle S is equal to 180 degrees. So just like we were doing before, to solve this, we're going to first simplify our equation by combining my like terms. So 7x plus 5x is 12x. Positive 4 plus 8 is positive 12. And now you're down to your basic two-step equation. So the first inverse step you want to get rid of is the furthest thing away from x here. So we're going to subtract 12 to both sides of our equation. This cancels, and I'm left with 12x equals, that gives me 168. I'm going to divide by x on both sides, and 168 divided by 12 gives me 14. Now, a lot of students want to be done right here, okay, because we've solved, we got an answer, but be careful. Remember the question here. Find the measure of angle R. This does not answer the question of the measure of angle R. So, like I was saying before, here's angle R. The expression is 5x plus 4. So we just needed the value of x, which we just solved for. So I'm going to plug in for x right here. I'm going to plug in 14. Remember, these two are connected by multiplication. So that's why I use the parentheses. Otherwise, it looks like 514. So 5 times 14 is 70. 70 plus 4 is 74 degrees. So this time it didn't ask us to solve for S. You could plug in your 14. 7 times 14 is 98 plus 8 is 106. So you don't need to. I just did because it took me an extra couple seconds. And now I can just double check. 106 plus 74 does add up to 180. So we did that correctly. So just a couple things here. Remember, look at what it's telling you, what information is given, whether it's complementary or supplementary. And then if it's asking you to solve for x like it did up above, or whether it's asking you to find the measure of angle R. Okay? Okay, the last type of angle that we're going to practice today with this is vertical angles. And remember, those are angles that are across from one another on two intersecting lines. So I'm just going to draw a picture here. Sometimes they'll give you a picture, sometimes they'll just give you a verbal description. So vertical are across from each other on an intersecting line. So I just created two intersecting lines, and they're across from each other. So I could pick here and here, or I could pick here and here. It does not matter because I'm drawing the diagram in this case. So angle G and H. So angle G, I'll put G over here, is 12x minus 4. And the measure of angle H over here is 80 degrees. So remember, what is true about our vertical angles? Angles that are across from one another on two intersecting lines are always congruent. Meaning they are equivalent, okay? So if this is 80 degrees, this is going to be equal to 80 degrees. So here we are going to first find the value of x and then find the measure of each angle. I'm going to give you a little tidbit here. if this is 80, this has to be equal to 80. So we already know the measure of each angle, so we're just going to find the value of x. So I know this side, 12x minus 4, is equal to 80. And you can write it 80 equals 12x minus 4 as well. That's that commutative property. I just prefer to have my variable on the left side, and I know most of you do as well. So this is equal to 80 because they are vertical angles across from each other on two intersecting lines. So this one is pretty easy. All we got to do is solve. This is set up as a two-step equation already for us. So the inverse of minus 4 is plus 4. So remember, I'm going to add 4 to both sides of my equal sign to keep that equation balanced. 80 plus 84, or 80 plus 4 is 84. And my last inverse step is to divide by 12 on both sides. So if you throw in your calculator, 84 divided by 12, x is equal to 7. So we've done our job of finding the value of x. So I know this angle is already 80 degrees, so we're going to double check that this is correct by plugging my 7 into where my x is. So this is 12 times 7 minus 4. And I'm going to throw this in my calculator. 12 times 7 is 84. 84 minus 4 is 80 degrees. So these are equal to each other. That's true about a vertical angle. So my value of x is correct, and we solved correctly. Okay, I'm going to try one of each of these types of angles. One complementary, one supplementary, one more vertical with you, and then you guys are going to do some practice. So this one I'm going to switch up. This one is just a verbal description, not a diagram like this one down here. So I'm going to do this one with you. Angles G and H are complementary. So we're looking for that word to tell us how to set it up. Remember, complementary is two angles that add up, two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. So if the measure of angle G is 3x plus 4, and the measure of angle H is represented by the expression 2x plus 6, it's asking us to find the measure of each angle. So I know I'm going to use this definition to help me start, that these two angles have to add up sum of 90 degrees and equal 90 degrees. So I'm just going to start by writing my equation here. 3x plus 4 plus the 2x plus 6 add up and equal to 90. So here I'm going to have to combine my like terms to get it down to look like a two-step equation. Remember, you include your signs. So 3x plus 2x is 5x. And your constant terms, positive 4 and positive 6, give me a positive 10 equal 90. Now you're down to a basic two-step equation. So the first inverse step is to subtract that 10 so that you can cancel these out. And you're left with 5x equals 80. My last inverse step is to get rid of that 5 by dividing by 5 on both sides. And 80 divided by 5 gives me 16. Okay, so my x value is 16, but that's not the question. But I do need this to answer the question. Find the measure of each angle. So I'm going to find the measure of angle G, and then I'm going to find the measure of angle H. In order for me to find what this is, I need that value of x. So all we now have to do is plug in our 16 where x is. I'm going to replace x with 16 that we solved for. So 3 times 16 is 48, plus 4 is 52 degrees. So angle G, the measure of angle G, is 52 degrees. Now I'm going to find the measure of angle H. So I could, if I know these two have to add up to 90, and I know this angle G is 52, I could subtract 90 minus 52. I also just want to make sure I did this correctly, so I'm going to plug in 16 for my x. 2 times 16 is 32. plus 6 is 38 degrees. So the measure of angle H is 38 degrees. I'm going to just double check this. I'll show you. There we go. I'm going to add these two. 52 plus 38 equals 90. So I know I did that correctly. I know I solved my X value correctly, and I know I plugged in and got the correct values of each of those angles. Okay, I'm going to try another supplementary one with you where it's a word diagram. This one says, or a word description, excuse me. Angles G and H are supplementary. So that tells me the two angles add up to 180 degrees. So measure of angle G is 7x minus 9. Measure of angle H is 3x minus 1. So I'm going to add those two up and set them equal to 180 degrees. So our first step is to try to simplify this equation as best as we can by combining our like terms. So 7x plus 3x gives me 10x, and I'm going to combine my constants. Important to remember to include those signs because a negative 9 and a negative 1, when I combine that, you owe $9, you owe $1. Your total is you owe $10, negative 10 is equal to 180 degrees. The first inverse step is to add 10 to both sides. So these 10s cancel. I'm one step closer to solving and getting x alone. 180 plus 10 is 190. And my last step is to divide by 10. So this is pretty easy math here. 190 divided by 10 is 19. So my x value is 19. So let's see what it's asking us. Find the measure of each angle. So right here, the measure of angle G is 7x minus 9. I'm going to take my x value and plug in 19 where x is. So 7 times 19 in your calculator gives me 133. Minus 9 is 124 degrees. So these two should add up to 180. So I could take 180 minus 24 and find this missing piece, but like I said before, I'm going to double check and make sure the two of them add up to 180 and make sure I solved it. Perfect. I'm going to plug in 19 where x is. So 3 times 19 is 57 minus 1 is 56 degrees. So this is measure of angle G. This is the measure of angle H. And I'm going to grab my calculator just to double check. 124 plus the 56 add up and equal 180 degrees. So they are supplementary. So I did that correctly and I plugged in my answers correctly. Okay. All right. I'm going to do one more with you. We'll do this one down here. Angles R and angle T are vertical. So as you can see, they are across from each other on two intersecting lines. So here's R, here's T. Find the value of x and find the measure of angle U. Okay, so we're going to have to do two things here. Find the value of x, find the measure of angle U. So remember, what is true about vertical angles? They are across from each other on intersecting lines. And remember, they are congruent, meaning they are equal angle measure. So if this angle R is 97 degrees, that means angle T is equal to 97 degrees. So I'm going to set this up. So 7x plus 20 is equal to 90 degrees. These two angles, 97, sorry, is equal to 97 degrees. Okay, and this is just already set up as a basic two-step equation. So we're going to subtract 20 from both sides, eliminating my 20s, and leaving me with 7x equals 77. Last inverse step is to divide by 7 on both sides, and my x value is 11. So we've done this job right here. We found the value of x. Now we're going to find the measure of value U. Right here, look carefully. The measure of value U. Now, I don't even need to plug this in, but watch. I'm just going to show you that we did this correctly real quick by plugging in my 11. That's 77 plus 20 is 97 degrees. Okay, so those are equal to each other. We did a good job there. So what I want you to do here to find u, it's a lot easier than it might look. So take a peek. If I cover up this, what do these two angles create? They create a straight line here. So that means these two angles, R and U, are supplementary. They have to add up to 180 degrees. You can look at it this way as well, guys, which is why I just plugged that in real quick just to help you see, which you didn't have to. Angle U and T also create this straight line. So these two angles are also supplementary, so they add up to 180 degrees. So if I know this one's 97, I could subtract 97 from 180 to find my missing value of U. So this one is a little bit neater because it's already written out for us. So all we need to do to find angle U is 180 degrees minus 97 degrees is 83 degrees. So the measure of angle U, so angle U is equal to 83 degrees, not 183, 83 degrees. Okay, you can double check that by throwing 83 plus 97 is 180 because those two create a straight line. So these two are supplementary. These two angles are vertical. Okay, you guys are going to try and practice some of these on your own today for a classwork grade. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Only 5 classes left. You got this, guys.